Hello and welcome to this channel which is called English Decoded. I'm Abdul Salam, and in today's lecture I'm going to talk about the verbs, the transitive and the intransitive verbs. So let's start the video. Read the following sentence. The boy kicks the football. In this sentence, the action denoted by the verb kicks passes over from the doer or subject boy to some object football. The verb kicks is therefore called a transitive verb. What is a transitive verb? A transitive verb is that verb which passes the action that it represents, that action from the subject to the object. A transitive verb passes its action from the subject to another word or another entity that is called the object. For example, in this sentence, the boy kicks the football. Kicks is the verb, and this verb passes the action of kicking from the boy to the football. Who kicks the ball? The boy. And who is that action performed on? It's the football. So a transitive verb is that word that passes its action from one thing to another, from the subject to the object. Now read this sentence. The boy laughs loudly. In this sentence, the action denoted by the verb laughs stops with the doer or subject boy and does not pass over to an object. The verb laughs is therefore called an intransitive verb. What is an intransitive verb? What is the meaning of transitive? Transitive comes from transit. Transit means going from one place to another. And what is intransitive verb? In which this going from one point to another is not there. So intransitive verb is that verb which does not pass its action from one thing to another, which does not pass its action from the subject to the object. For example, in this sentence, the boy laughs loudly. Laughs is the action and it is done by the boy, and that's all. There is no object to which the action is now passed. The action stops with the subject. So those verbs which do not pass their action from one thing to another, from subject to the object, they are called the intransitive verbs. So what are the definitions? A transitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which passes over from the doer or subject to an object. An intransitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which does not pass over to an object or which expresses a state or a being. Transitive verbs as give, ask, offer, promise, tell take two objects after them: an indirect object which denotes the person to whom something is given or for whom something is done, and a direct object which is usually the name of something. Transitive verbs such as give, ask, offer, promise, tell, they usually have two objects. One is the direct object and the other one is the indirect object. In this example, his father gave him a watch. In this sentence, gave is the transitive verb, but it has two objects. One is the direct object and the other one is the indirect object. For example, this sentence can be said like this: his father gave a watch to him. His father gave him a watch. In this sentence, him is the indirect object. The direct object is the watch, because the action of giving has been done to the watch. And the indirect object is the word him. Most verbs can be used both as transitive and as intransitive verbs. It is therefore better to say that a verb is used transitively or intransitively rather than that it is transitive or intransitive. There are verbs that can be used both transitively and intransitively. So there is no definite rule that some verbs are transitive and the other verbs are intransitive. Rather, we should say that this verb has been used here transitively or intransitively, because there are no hard rules for words for them to be transitive or intransitive. For example, The ship sank rapidly. In this sentence, the word sank, the verb sank, has been used intransitively because there is no object. In the second sentence, the shot sank the ship. In this sentence, the verb sank has been used transitively because there is an object in this sentence, which is the ship. There are those intransitive verbs which leave the sentence without complete sense unless a word is added to the sentence, not an object, some other word. If it is an intransitive verb, it doesn't need any object. But if you don't add any other word, the sense of the sentence will be incomplete. And these verbs are called verbs of incomplete predication. For example, the baby seems happy. Now, seems is an intransitive verb, but if we say the baby seems, it doesn't make complete sense. We have to add another word, that is happy. What is happy in this sentence? Happy is the complement of the verb or completion of the predicate. Happy makes this sentence complete. It is the complement of the verb or completion of the predicate. So those intransitive verbs which leave the sentence without complete sense are called verbs of incomplete predication. That's all for today.